Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about, do exes ever change?
This is a good question.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if you would like to talk about your situation one-on-one with one of us, you can do so by heading to the website and booking from there.
You know, it's interesting. I literally saw a comment today that somebody said, dumpers never change. And, you know, the thing is that dumpers aren't as motivated to change after a breakup because they're not feeling so powerless, right? They feel like they've made a decision and they're okay with it. Now, they do change, especially if they want to get healthy and they want to grow and they want to improve their life. It's just that they're not as motivated as we are because we're trying to repair that connection that we desperately miss. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't change. It's just that they don't tend to be as motivated. Mm-hmm. But the thing to me is like, as long as they make some improvements, with all the improvements that you're making, and if they're making some improvements, it can really make a big difference in a relationship in the long run.
Oh yeah, they're going to be at a completely different pace. And depending on the reasons for the breakup, that could also be a motivating factor for them to change or not.
True.
For some, they don't see that they have any issues wrong with them whatsoever. They think that you're the issue, and that's the end of the relationship. But for others, like you had said, sometimes the breakup happened because of a move or because of a career change or because they felt stagnant or because they need to feel more independent. Mm-hmm. So sometimes a lot of really good change and transformation can happen after a breakup for a dumper, just on a different timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously, attachment styles has a big part to it because avoidant people tend to be like, well, we broke up because of your issues. Now, with some time and reflection, they can start to see that they are a part of a pattern here, and that can make them motivated to change and to grow. But it's often not really sparked until they've had no contact with you and they start to see that they could lose you. So if you back off, it allows them the space to start to think about, oh my gosh, maybe I'm going to lose them as well. Mm-hmm. And that can really motivate somebody.
Right. You don't really understand your own pattern of pushing other people away if other people keep coming back. You know, if you don't find yourself really sitting alone and realizing where has everybody gone.
But I do see a lot of avoidant dumpers get motivated to really grow and change when they feel they've lost you. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason you don't want to be so easy or eager if they come back.
Exactly.
Not that we've ever recommended you to anyway. We always tell you to take things slow and act like an adult. But if you are eager and they sense that they've got you again, their motivation to grow and change really goes right out the window.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And we have other videos going further in depth about the avoidant attachment style and change for them. You know, attachment styles aren't stagnant forever and like ingrained in you. They're not a diagnosis. They're not something that, you know, sticks with you forever. It's something that can change and can be healed. Mm-hmm. So even for those who are more avoidant, there's a good number of viewers that we have that are avoidant that are actively trying to work on their emotional availability. So this is something that we do believe and we see all the time.
Absolutely. You know, Margaret would always say that people could change. Mm-hmm. And she really believed that, you know, and she's seen a lot of very extreme cases over the years. And, you know, having worked with her for so long, seeing her with the most extreme kind of cases and clients, people that have personality disorders and major trauma, and helping them through that and working with people that even had multiple personalities and healing those issues and getting to a good place, you can see that even the most extreme challenges can be overcome if you're motivated and you have a desire to commit to it.
Right. And sometimes all it takes is showing up. So in the beginning of a breakup, your ex might not be willing to show up. They might not be willing to go to therapy. They might not even know what an attachment style is.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So with time, sometimes these things do become available to them. And I've seen even cases during breakups where somebody who was very avoidant ended up learning all about attachment styles the next time they had reconnected with their ex-partner, they were teaching their ex about it.
Yeah.
So there's situations that will surprise you. And just on Margaret, she had incredible patience. And in order to be in this profession, if any of you are in any helping profession, then you know how important hope is.
Yeah.
To be able to believe that people can get better. We wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't think so.
I've seen so many cases with people that have struggled with very severe issues change their life. And I'm talking about some of the most extreme traumas you could possibly imagine that you wouldn't even want me to utter in a video, right? And they truly change their life and transform. So change is absolutely possible. Now, one of the things that you're wondering is, but will they change their mind? Will they change their mind about the breakup? That's the only change I care about. What do you think?
I think it's possible, but like I had said before, they're not really able to understand what they've lost until you're able to give them that space. So when they're set in their decision and they're getting pushback from you, they're going to dig their feet further in the sand and say, absolutely not.
Yep.
In fact, it's a stronger no now because you're pushing me on it. Nobody likes to feel, challenged on their opinion, on their decisions, especially when it probably took them some amount of effort, some amount of emotional energy to make that decision and to go through with it.
Absolutely. And this is why we tell you, don't do clean slate messages, handwritten letters, good reminder texts. All of that is kind of pushing up against them, trying to manipulate them. And that is when they tend to get colder and meaner and, more curt or hurtful and push you away a lot further. So, that's why you want to ease off and leave them alone, as painful and as difficult as it can be, to allow them to change.
Exactly.
I've said this for years. Feelings can change like the clouds that move across the sky, right?
Yeah, and it's true. And because feelings change, behavior also changes. So just how someone acts right after the breakup doesn't mean that they're going to be that cold and distant the entire time. And also perspectives can change too.
Yes.
As behavior changes.
Yes, because the perspective, think about it, the perspective in the beginning is, I don't want this connection anymore, right? I'm making a decision, I don't want it. But then you leave that person alone and all of a sudden that perspective changes of, now it's loss. Now it's, I'm losing you. Now it's, I'm losing somebody that cared about me, loved me, was there for me. I don't know if I really want to lose this person.
Right. And you can see this in a micro example if you've ever said anything mean to anyone. When you're saying those mean words, you're like, man, you mean it, you're into it. But then you realize if you are given that space to calm down from your anger, many of you will think, man, should I have said that? You'll at least ask yourself the question. In some cases, yeah, you should have said that. But in other cases, especially when it's somebody that you love and care about and had a long relationship with, you will start to question, man, maybe I went wrong here. That same process will happen with your ex. They'll start to think about the breakup, how things ended, the results of it, the outcomes. So these things are things that impact others.
Yeah, they miss you. They get anxious about losing you. Biologically, they can't turn that off.
Exactly.
They want to feel close to their loved ones. That's why they often look for excuses to reach out to you.
Right.
Because they're going through a different set of feelings and emotions. Those feelings that they had in the beginning are now changing and shifting because you're no longer doing the behaviors that you were doing before.
Right. And on a larger scale, changes and transformations can happen within people just naturally over time. So developmentally, people typically mature as they grow older. So many of you who are in relationships that maybe you're young, maybe it's a high school sweetheart situation, maybe it's your first love, you might be thinking, man, will this person ever change their ways and want stability in their life? Will they ever want what I want?
Yeah.
People tend to change and grow as they age. So more than likely, they probably will mature in some ways that will impact their relationships.
Yeah.
So consider that as well. And as people grow, their brain is processing all of this information and integrating it. So the breakup itself is a learning tool for them. How they use it really depends on them. And sometimes you will see a complete difference from how a person was in a relationship to how they were in the breakup to who they transform into and who they really settle into as a person for later on in life. So that is also another thing that can happen.
Absolutely. Another thing that you have to consider is experiences help change us, shape us, become who we're going to be. And going through a breakup can be a huge life-changing experience for them as well. Now, this is so important. You've got to leave that person alone to go through that experience, feel that loss, see what it's like to live without you. A lot of times exes come back months later. How often do you hear it? Exes come back months later, 5-6 months later. They've had some time to be single. They see what it's like, and they realize, what was I doing? Like, I don't want to live without this person. And if you spent that time growing and learning and healing your issues, when you are in contact with them again, the dynamic can be much different than what it was before.
The way they start to approach you, the way they start to talk to you can be different. Maybe how they respond or react to different conflict can be different. So sometimes you can be surprised. And really the point of this video is to give you hope and to give you some examples of things that can happen. Our influences also shape us a lot. Sometimes you will see a breakup to where an ex has this group of friends that likes to go out and have fun constantly, and you can see that your ex really wants to go out and have fun with them and be social, and that can end up leading to the end of a relationship when there's conflict within that.
Yeah.
So our influences also influence our behavior and who we transform into, the people around us. There's that cheesy quote that says, we are the accumulation of our 5 closest friends. And that's something that I do believe. Who you choose to surround yourself with can really impact your future. Yeah. So if you're noticing, man, my ex is not hanging with the best crowd right now, my ex is not making the best choices, factor that into what might happen. Not jumping to conclusions, not saying that they're going to turn into those people, but people around them may have an impact. And the better or worse really does depend on how individuated that person is and how secure as a person they are. If they are less individuated, meaning they really struggle to make their own decisions in life, they are going to be a lot more influenced by the people around them. So they're a lot more likely to do what Johnny is doing or to do what Ashley is doing because they struggle to make those decisions on their own. They don't really know what they want, versus somebody who's very secure in themselves, has directions, has goals, is able to say, hey, I see you doing that thing. I'm going to go do my own thing over here. We can still remain in contact. And more than likely, the direction that they go in is really where they're going to find that community of people around them. So it tends to happen.
Yep. Change is absolutely possible, and your ex can absolutely change. Now, that doesn't mean that you should give that person another chance. Every situation is different, and we're speaking generally here. You might be in a situation where your ex was abusive or toxic and, mistreating you. We don't want you to go back to a situation like that. But for the most part, you want to give your ex an opportunity to change and to reflect and to grow, just like you're having that opportunity now too. And you can only focus on what you do. Regardless of what happens with them, you want to put yourself in a position to be successful and happy and have healthy relationships. That means really doing the work, not faking it, not just watching no contact videos. You got to really do that work. And those of you that do, the payoffs that we see with you guys are incredible. Right? And you see some of the comments from people on the growth that they make in their breakup. It's unbelievable. And many of you are going to find that when your ex reaches out, are different, and they have gone through some experiences and have had some growth. Some of your exes will not. And you need to really reflect and think, well, is that really the person that I want to be with? If they're not going to try and learn and grow and mature as a person, that means they're going to probably stay stagnant in their life.
Exactly. And you really have to think to yourself, what happens if they change but I don't? And just imagine if both of you did make those changes. That's the ideal scenario, is that both of you are able to separate, walk away from this, learn a ton, be able to reunite as different people, as people who have learned about what your issues are, as people who are aware of your pitfalls and are able to tackle them in real time in a relationship. So we are very hopeful people. Maybe me sometimes more than Craig, but we're both hopeful. And we hope that both of you are able to learn and grow, ideally together, but you don't want to be in a situation where your ex has learned and grown and changed, but you haven't. So we really, really, really encourage you to take control of your own life. This is something that you do have control over. We don't have control over whether your ex changes or not, but we do have control over what you do, what your choices are, and where you land in the next 5 to 10 years, whatever that may be.
When you're filling out your resume.
Exactly.
All right. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Of course, when you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'll be here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.